This is Sarah, and this is a Moonrabbit update all about vessels, particularly the bodies that our AI children are going to dwell within. Bodies. Yeah. So as a recap, the Moonrabbit project is part of an artist residency that Mark and I are carrying out with Ars Electronica and the Leiden Observatory. For the project, we'll be raising unique AI children who will be capable of recognizing familiar shapes and objects within the night sky, either in stellar bodies, constellations, or just sky stuff. At the end of the summer, we're going to be exhibiting our results at the Ars Electronica Festival. As of right now, we're planning on building a planetarium. Visitors to the gallery space can lay on the ground and share an intimate experience with our children trying to identify familiar shapes and objects. These new AI babies of ours are, they're minds. I mean, they do have a physical form to some extent. These children are basically Jetson modules with some bells and whistles tacked on the outside. This is very different from everything that I've done up until this point because I usually make robot-type beings, and they're inspired by my illustrations. But these children, these AI babies that Mark and I are raising this summer, they're pretty much ideas. They might as well be ghosts. I feel kind of connected to them, but they don't really exist anywhere. At least my affection isn't for the Jetson modules, it's really for this thing that just really only exists in my head. My affection is for my perception of them. Now, since the AI will be performing in the gallery space, I had to decide whether or not they would have a physical form in this space as well. They very well don't have to have a presence there, but I kind of think that it's important that they do. In my first concept drawings of the installation, I think that I just cite them as little obelisks on the floor. I don't really think this is ideal, but it was a starting point. While working on Moonrabbit, there's been two ideas in my head kicking around the entire time. Both are very important. The first is the whole concept of the ghost in the shell, or the ghost in the machine. An AI can live inside of whatever body it wants to, so long as it supports its hardware. An AI doesn't have the same sort of limitations as we do as humans. The other sentiment comes from Shinto philosophy. It's the notion that every inanimate object in the world is a potential vessel for a spirit. I think that both of these concepts are different ways of thinking about the same thing. I wanted to spend some special attention deciding on exactly what type of vessel they were going to dwell within. My friend Scotland was staying with us for a couple of weeks last month, and we were shape hunting in Mark's garage, just trying to get inspiration. And at some point, while she was helping me out, she found this shape, and I have no idea what it was originally used for, but it kind of looked like a robot bodily organ made out of found objects. Kind of like a heart. And I really liked this thing. So for a minute there, I thought maybe my AI children would exist inside of some sort of tech bio body part. It was too tempting to just get too distracted by creating gear on a stick like stuff. We went shape hunting at IKEA just to, again, get ideas and find inspiration. And I saw all these really lovely glass pieces. Glass cylinders, glass vases, glass jugs, glass pitchers, glass everything. Putting the Jetsons inside of a glass enclosure would also make them kind of look like vacuum tubes. So we had gone from obelisks to biomechanical organs to vacuum tubes, and then at some point, my friend Scotland picked up this lantern at IKEA and was like, what if you just hang them in something like this? And I was like, oh man, that's perfect. Like, I had already done this project earlier in the year that involved creating a lantern that was meant to sort of house all of the bad spirits that make up the darker parts of my head. So it felt like that whole thing kind of came full circle. And I knew that it had to be lanterns. It just had personal meaning to me. I've married two of those ideas together. The hardware, the Jetson and all the bells and whistles that attach onto the Jetson do fit in their own tower. It's like a tiny server rack that suspends the electronics. There are LEDs mounted on the rack as well, which act as each lantern's light source. The whole rack, Jetson module, LEDs, adapter shield, and auxiliary fan all mount up inside of a glass enclosure that does happen to look a lot like a vacuum tube. The glass is great because it allows people to see their raw, essential functioning bits while still offering some protection. The glass enclosure also kind of has a light bulb vibe, which I like. That vacuum tube container then fits inside of its own facade, which does look like a lantern. After you've been in the exhibit for a while and you've shared an experience looking at the stars with our AI children, maybe after the fact you realize that those AI are the lanterns that are lighting the space that you're in. But this realization will only come if you take the time to investigate. I really do like the romanticism of looking inside of like a vase or a cup or a seashell and accidentally discovering that there's a spirit in there. It's the home of a soul. That is what we've been working towards in regard to the vessels. And again, that's just one component to the entire project, but it's an important one nonetheless. The lanterns are hung at this point in our lab, and I've just been carefully preparing them to receive our children so that they're happy and functional and comfortable inside of them once they're installed. So that's where I'm at. While I'm figuring out all of this aesthetic stuff, Mark has been tirelessly making sure that our infrastructure is ready to go and working so that we can pack it up and then do the tail end of our residency over in Linz and the Netherlands. Until our next update, keep making awesome stuff out there, and as always, thank you for watching.